House of the Dragon Episode 2 gives Rhaenyra the moment she's been fighting for since the beginning. King's Landing opens, the Iron Throne is finally within reach, and for a moment it looks like the war has shifted in her favor. And then the episode twists the knife. Alicent handed Rhaenyra the city, and Rhaenyra repaid that surrender with Otto's blood. That's the real wound of the episode. Yes, Rhaenyra finally takes King's Landing. Yes, she finally sits the Iron Throne. But this isn't a clean victory. It begins with grief, moves through Daemon's pressure, depends on Alicent trusting her again, and ends with Alicent staring at her father's body while Rhaenyra sits the throne. So let's break down why Rhaenyra's win was already poisoned, what casual viewers may have missed, and why taking King's Landing may have created as many problems as it solved. Full spoilers ahead. Now, let's start right there. Before Rhaenyra ever reaches King's Landing, the episode shows us what's really driving her there. She's not moving from strength, she's moving from grief. The Gullet didn't just cost Team Black ships and momentum, it cost Rhaenyra her son Jace. And Jace wasn't just another prince, he was her heir, her future, and the person who made her claim feel like it could survive beyond her. So the question isn't whether Rhaenyra is grieving. Of course she is. The question is, what grief is going to turn her into? And that's where Daemon becomes the most important person in the room. Daemon doesn't comfort Rhaenyra, he activates her. And because Daemon is Daemon, that activation isn't clean. He knows exactly which part of Rhaenyra to press. Duty, legacy, Viserys, and the prophecy. And when he asks if she'll let Jace and Luke die in vain, he's not just pushing revenge, he's making stillness feel like betrayal. And when he switches to Valyrian and reminds her of what Viserys told her, he reaches even deeper than grief. That goes back to season 1, when Viserys didn't just name Rhaenyra heir. He trusted her with Aegon's dream and tied her claim to something bigger than wanting the throne. So when Daemon brings that back, he's not only reminding her of the crown, he's reminding her that walking away would feel like failing her father too. And that's the moment grief becomes movement. Rhaenyra gets up because Daemon ties her pain to her purpose. And that's powerful, but it's also dangerous, because the version of Rhaenyra who moves toward King's Landing is not healed, she's just activated. An action taken from grief doesn't always land clean. That's why the opening matters. Rhaenyra does not enter the episode like a conqueror who has everything under control. She enters it wounded, pressured, and easier for Daemon to steer. And that sets up the next major turn of the episode. King's Landing does not fall the way a normal capital falls. It opens from the inside. The city doesn't fall only because of dragons. It doesn't fall because Rhaenyra simply overpowers everyone standing in her way. King's Landing falls because the people inside it stop holding the door shut. The first person who makes that possible is Alicent. After everything between Alicent and Rhaenyra, after years of rivalry, resentment, fear, and political damage, Alicent still chooses to let Rhaenyra in. And because this started as a friendship before it became a war, that choice carries more weight than a normal surrender. Alicent is not just letting in an enemy, she's trusting the person this entire conflict slowly turned against her. And for Alicent, that trust already has history. Back in season 1, Alicent believed Rhaenyra when Rhaenyra swore nothing happened with Daemon. Alicent defended her, and that trust helped cost Otto his position as Hand. So when Alicent opens the city now, she's not trusting Rhaenyra from a clean place. She's trusting someone who in her mind has already broken that trust before. That makes the surrender more loaded. Alicent tells the guards to stand down. She chooses surrender over another bloodbath inside the capital. Without that choice, Rhaenyra's path into King's Landing is much bloodier. Alicent is only one part of how the city opens. The other part is Daemon. When Sir Luther and the City Watch backed Daemon, that isn't random. It takes us back to season 1 when Daemon commanded the City Watch in King's Landing. Before the war, before the rival crowns, before the city changed hands, Daemon had already built loyalty inside the capital. So Alicent opens the door from inside the Red Keep, and Daemon's old influence opens another from the streets. That's what makes this takeover more interesting than a simple invasion. King's Landing does not just get conquered. It changes hands because old relationships, old loyalties, old wounds all come due at the same time. But that also creates the problem. A city that opens from the inside does not give anyone clean control. That brings us to Larys. While Rhaenyra and Daemon are entering the capital, Larys is already making sure the Green Claim survives outside of it. He escapes with Aegon. That matters because Rhaenyra can take the capital, sit the throne, and claim the Red Keep. But as long as Aegon is alive, the Green Claim isn't dead. And Aegon heading towards Rook's Rest isn't random. That takes us back to Season 2. Because Rook's Rest is not just where Aegon was burned, it's where the green side stopped pretending it was united. It's where Aemond's ambitions stopped hiding, where Aegon's own brother became one of his biggest threats. So Aegon going back there isn't just a movement on a map, it's the war circling back to the place where the greens fractured from within. And that is the part of Larys' move that matters most. He does not stop Rhaenyra from taking King's Landing. He makes sure taking King's Landing does not end the war. Aegon is the piece Larys saves. Otto is the piece he leaves behind. And that may be the more dangerous move. Otto Hightower isn't just another prisoner. He's the former hand, a Hightower, Alicent's father, the architect of Aegon's claim, one of the people Rhaenyra has the most reason to hate. But we shouldn't treat Larys like he can predict every exact move before it happened. That's not the point. Larys does not predict the exact outcome. He leaves behind a problem that is useful in almost any outcome. If Daemon finds Otto, Otto is a gift. If Rhaenyra finds Otto, Otto is a test. If Alicent finds Otto, Otto becomes a wound. That's why leaving Otto behind works. Larys escapes with Aegon. He keeps the Green Claim alive. He leaves behind the one prisoner guaranteed to make Rhaenyra's victory more complicated. So Rhaenyra wins the city, but Larys makes sure the win is incomplete. Then Otto turns that incomplete win into something worse. He turns it into betrayal. Once Daemon and Rhaenyra find Otto, the episode stops being only about taking the city. It becomes about what Rhaenyra will do with power once she has it. And Otto becomes the first impossible choice of her rule. And Daemon immediately understands what that choice can do. Daemon doesn't want Rhaenyra to simply take the city. He wants her to claim power in a way nobody can mistake. That's why Otto's execution matters so much. Not just because Otto dies, not just because Rhaenyra kills an enemy. It matters because of Alicent. Alicent kept her word. She opened the city, she helped Rhaenyra take King's Landing without turning the capital into a massacre, and almost immediately, Rhaenyra is pushed to kill Alicent's father. That's where the victory changes shape, because Otto is absolutely Rhaenyra's enemy. He helped build the machine that stole her throne. He advanced Aegon's claim. He spent years treating Rhaenyra as a threat to be contained instead of a serious chosen heir. So the argument for killing him is easy to understand. But the cost is just as clear. Alicent didn't hand over the city so she could watch her father die. She made a surrender that was supposed to mean something. And this is where Daemon and Rhaenyra see power completely different. Daemon understands the theater of it. To him, Otto living makes Rhaenyra look soft. Otto dying tells the room the old green order is finished. But Rhaenyra understands the wound underneath that message. If she kills Otto, she's not only punishing an enemy, she's making Alicent pay for the surrender that helped put her inside the city. So the question isn't simply whether Rhaenyra can be ruthless. The better question is, can Rhaenyra accept Alicent's surrender without making Alicent pay for it? And in the end, she can't. Or at least Daemon makes sure she doesn't. That is what poisons the wind. Rhaenyra finally gets the throne her father promised her, but the first shadow over that throne is Otto Hightower's blood. And Daemon killing Lord Jasper only sharpens the point. This isn't a peaceful transfer. It's a takeover. And Daemon makes sure the room understands that. But the real emotional damage lands when Alicent sees what happened. Because Otto's death cannot be treated just like another execution. For Rhaenyra, it may look like justice, but for Alicent, it becomes proof that trusting Rhaenyra has cost her father all over again. In Season 1, Alicent trusted Rhaenyra, and Otto paid for it with his position. Now, Alicent trusts Rhaenyra again, and this time, Otto pays for it with his life. And that is why the throne scene lands. When Alicent and Helaena are captured trying to leave the city and brought before Rhaenyra, Alicent sees her father dead while Rhaenyra sits the Iron Throne. This is the whole tragedy of the episode in one image. Alicent opened the door for Rhaenyra, and when she's brought back in, she sees the cost of opening it. So Rhaenyra has the seat, but the way she gets there has already damaged the trust that made it possible. And after that, the episode widens back out because the throne room tells one story, the map tells another. Rhaenyra may have won the symbol of power, but the actual war is already moving in places she doesn't control. That's where Sheepstealer becomes more interesting. Rhaenyra and Daemon think the Greens have Sheepstealer. And in this war, the dragon is not just a dragon, it changes how people calculate risk. If they believe the Greens have gained another wild dragon, then every decision they make from this point forward is shaped by a false threat. They're not just missing information, they're preparing for a version of the war that isn't actually true. Now Rhaenyra has one of the biggest pieces in the war, and the people who need to know it don't even know it yet. And then at sea, Corlys also survives, but survival doesn't erase what the gullet cost. When he gives Alan his name, that's not just mercy, it's legacy. But the strongest warning outside King's Landing is Harrenhal. Aemond takes Harrenhal, which should feel like another green power move. He arrives with the largest dragon in the world. He takes the castle, but the episode immediately undercuts him. He's stabbed from behind, he collapses, and he ends up at Alice River's feet asking for help. That image matters because Aemond walks into Harrenhal like a weapon, and Harrenhal immediately makes him vulnerable. We've seen this before. In Season 2, Daemon came to Harrenhal thinking it could become his base of power, and the castle dragged him inward. It pulled him into visions, guilt, memory, and weakness. Now Aemond comes there with Vhagar and the same confidence, and almost immediately he ends up wounded at Alice's feet. Daemon thought Harrenhal could become his advantage. Aemond may be making the same mistake, because Harrenhal doesn't just change hands, it changes the men who think they can control it. And Alice is standing right at the center of that. Daemon underestimated her. Aemond may need her. And in this world, needing someone can be just as dangerous as fearing them. So by the end of episode 2, the throne room and the map tells two different stories. Rhaenyra has the capital, but Aegon is still alive. Larys is still moving. Rhaenyra has Sheepstealer, but she's in hiding. Aemond is wounded at Harrenhal. Corlys is alive, but the damage from the gullet is still sitting over House Valyrian. And Alicent now has every reason to see Rhaenyra's victory as betrayal. So heading into the next episode, the board looks like Rhaenyra's victory, but it doesn't feel like control. That's what makes this win feel so dangerous. Rhaenyra has the throne, but she doesn't have peace. She doesn't have Alicent's trust. She doesn't have Aegon in chains. She doesn't have full control of the board around her. So going into episode 3, what do you think poisoned Rhaenyra's victory the most? Daemon pushing Otto's execution, Alicent seeing her father dead, or Aegon escaping the city? Drop your take in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the video on your screen to watch the next breakdown now. This is Thrones and Ladders. Every climb has a cost, and in this Game of Thrones, power always collects.